Imagine this. You've dedicated years, maybe decades, to federal service. You're committed. Then you get injured on the job.
It happens more often than people think.
Right. And then the system, the very system that's supposed to be there to help you, just denies your claim. That feeling, the frustration, the pain, maybe feeling like nobody's listening, it's got to be just crushing.
It really is. It's a significant blow, emotionally and financially, for federal workers who suddenly feel abandoned.
So if you've hit that wall, or maybe you know someone, a colleague, a friend who has, then this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a common and, frankly, difficult situation. These workers contribute so much, but navigating the claims process, it can be a real maze.
And that's exactly what we're tackling today. We're diving deep into federal workers' compensation claims. Specifically, why do claims get denied by OWCP? That's the Office of Workers' Compensation Programs.
Right.
And maybe more importantly, how can you actually get those denials overturned? We've got 3 real-life stories to guide us. Maria, she's a postal inspector. Kevin, an IT specialist. And Jim, a TSA agent. We're going to use their experiences to sort of unpack the complexities.
Yeah, these cases really illustrate the common pitfalls.
Our mission here is to pull out the key insights, maybe reveal some surprising facts, and really give you a shortcut to understanding this whole area so you walk away feeling, properly informed.
And one thing to maybe stress up front is that initial denial. It's often not even about whether the injury is real.
Right.
It's frequently about not meeting the very specific documentation or connection requirements that OWCP has. That's the first big hurdle for so many people.
Okay, so let's jump right into those initial hurdles then. Why are these claims getting denied in the first place? Let's start with Maria, the postal inspector.
Okay.
She had this persistent numbness, pain in her forearm after chasing down a suspicious package. But here's the kicker. She waited 2 weeks to report it.
And bam, that delay was a huge factor in her denial. OWCP pointed straight to it.
2 weeks seems
not
that long in the grand scheme of things sometimes.
You'd think, but in OWCP terms, timely reporting is critical. They also said there wasn't enough sufficient medical evidence directly linking her work, the package chase, to the nerve injury she was claiming.
Okay.
And then the DMA, the district medical advisor, this is an independent doctor, OWCP consults.
Right.
Their report basically backed up the denial. They highlighted that there were no objective nerve conduction studies done at that point, and they concluded, well, no permanent impairment.
So lesson 1, report it fast.
Absolutely. Timely reporting is paramount. That's a huge takeaway right there.
Okay, let's pivot now to Kevin, IT specialist. Developed lower back pain, says it happened after lifting some heavy server equipment.
A common scenario for IT folks.
But his agency, they disputed the claim, said it was, chronic, something he already had, pre-existing.
Exactly. And OWCP followed suit, denied. They cited a lack of a clear causal relationship, that link between the lifting and the pain and those pre-existing condition concerns.
Even though he had an MRI.
Yeah, even with an MRI showing some, degenerative changes, which lots of people have anyway. The DMA opinion, again, was influential here, dismissing a work connection.
So this highlights another big issue.
Yeah.
Proving that the job either caused a new problem or maybe more often aggravated an old one.
Precisely. Distinguishing a new injury from an old one, or showing that work made an old problem worse. That's a very common battleground for denials.
Gotcha. In our third case, Jim, a transportation security officer, a TSO,
right,
developed worsening right knee pain over 3 years. Prolonged standing, we're talking 10, 12 hours a shift. Repetitive squatting, baggage screening, all the stuff TSOs do. She filed what's called a CA2 claim.
Right, and a CA2, just for clarity, isn't for a sudden accident like a fall. It's for occupational diseases or conditions that develop slowly over time because of the job duties, like repetitive strain.
Makes sense. But her claim was denied too. Why?
The initial doctor's note, it was just too vague. It simply said something like osteoarthritis, likely work-related.
That sounds not very detailed.
Exactly. There was no real medical rationale explaining how the standing, the squatting, all those specific TSA tasks actually contributed to making her mild pre-existing arthritis worse. And there wasn't a clear timeline showing, how her condition evolved alongside her job duties. It's a classic case of insufficient medical evidence. It just didn't meet the causation standards set by FECA, the Federal Employees Compensation Act.
So looking at Maria, Kevin, and Jim,
right,
these initial denials, there's definitely a pattern emerging here.
There really is.
What are these core reasons, these fundamental flaws that keep tripping people up?
It generally boils down to a few key things. One, Timely reporting, like we saw with Maria. 2, establishing that crystal clear causal link between the work and the injury or condition.
The nexus.
Exactly, the nexus. 3, dealing with conflicting medical opinions, especially when a DMA weighs in against the claim. And 4, providing medical rationale that is truly sufficient, detailed, and specifically addresses how the work caused or worsened the condition. OWCP guidance, the standards from ECB, the Employees' Compensation Appeals Board, they are incredibly specific about this stuff.
So you really need to build a bulletproof case from the start, ideally.
Ideally, yes. But even if you get denied, that's not necessarily the end, which brings us to the solutions.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. We've seen the denials, the frustration. How did things turn around? How do you go from that claim denied letter to an acceptance? What were the strategies? Let's go back to Maria.
Right, Maria, the postal inspector with the delayed report and nerve issue. After her denial, her support team, they didn't just accept it, they went to work.
What did they do?
They pulled her employment logs, like timesheets and duty records. And crucially, they got witness statements from her supervisors, her coworkers.
Corroborate.
Exactly. And these statements confirm she handled that specific suspicious package on the exact day her symptoms started. That directly tackled the delayed reporting issue by pinpointing the onset.
Okay, that's smart. What about the medical side?
That was key, too. They ordered more advanced diagnostics, specifically an EMG-NCS, that's electromyography and nerve conduction study.
The objective tests the DMA mentioned were missing.
Precisely. And these tests showed, objectively, mild ulnar neuropathy. And the findings closely matched when her symptoms began. This new evidence directly countered the DMA's earlier skepticism.
Wow. So digging deeper into the work records and getting those specific medical tests made all the difference. It sounds like they almost had to become investigators themselves.
In a way, yes. You have to be incredibly thorough. Now, for Kevin, the IT guy with the back pain and the pre-existing condition denial,
Yeah, how did they tackle that one?
his team took a really comprehensive approach. They reconstructed the specific server move events, looked at duty logs. They also got witness affidavits confirming that it involved unusual strain for him.
So painting a picture of the specific incident.
Exactly. Then an orthopedic surgeon provided a new diagnosis. Lumbar disc strain superimposed on, yes, some mild degenerative change. But the key was strongly linking the onset of the disabling pain directly to that documented server move.
Making the connection explicit.
Explicitly, yes. And they didn't stop there. They used functional capacity evaluations, FCEs. These are objective tests
Okay.
that measure what a person can actually physically do, documenting limitations. And they pulled his physical therapy notes, which showed persistent new functional loss after that server incident.
So multiple layers of evidence all pointing to the work event.
Right. Building an undeniable case for that causal relationship, even with the pre-existing background noise.
And Jim, the TSO with knee osteoarthritis. Similar meticulous approach.
Very similar. Her team conducted a really detailed interview with her first. They charted years of her TSA work, emphasizing the excessive standing, the repetitive squatting, the daily passenger load, just mapping it all out.
Creating that long-term exposure picture.
Yes. And again, they collected duty logs and affidavits from colleagues, showing that clear link between her specific job tasks and when her knee symptoms started getting worse.
So that reconstructed timeline was vital for her occupational disease claim.
Absolutely crucial. It directly addressed the initial problem, that vague doctor's note, by showing the connection over time.
It seems like just having the right medical findings isn't always enough. You need to present it in a very specific way. What's the secret sauce there for crafting a medical report that OWCP will actually buy?
That's a great question. It's really about translating complex medical information into a clear, persuasive narrative that speaks OWCP's language, It has to directly answer their specific criteria.
Okay.
So for Maria, her medical team wrote a report that didn't just state the diagnosis. It carefully connected the mechanism nerve compression to her specific job duties, the package handling. And importantly, they aligned it fully with the AMA guides.
The American Medical Association guides for impairment ratings.
Exactly. Using those standards adds significant weight and objectivity. It directly countered the insufficient causal evidence reason for her denial.
And for Jim, whose first note was too vague, what did her new narrative look like?
It was incredibly detailed. Her team cited actual medical literature, studies showing the link between occupational risk factors like prolonged standing and squatting and knee osteoarthritis.
Wow, bringing in external research.
Yes. And they explained, step by step, how the repetitive microtrauma from her job likely accelerated the degeneration in her knee joint. They laid out that precise timeline, gradual onset, how it escalated, the impact on her ability to do her job.
Connecting all the dots.
All the dots. And they backed it up with objective testing MRI results showing chronic changes, functional testing results, plus therapy records showing she'd tried conservative care and it failed, and documenting those job-related limitations. It directly tackled the lack of specificity from the first denial. They explicitly met those FICA causation standards.
Okay, so you gather all this powerful new evidence, you craft this compelling narrative. How do you actually navigate the appeals process itself? What are the steps?
Well, in all three of these cases, the first crucial step was filing a timely request for reconsideration. You typically have 30 days from the denial notice to do this. You can't miss that window.
30 days. Okay, critical deadline. What happens next?
You submit all that new evidence. For Maria, her team sent in the new EMG-NCS results, a Statement of Accepted Facts, or SO.
What's this SF?
It's basically a document where, ideally, both sides agree on certain undisputed facts of the case. It can help narrow the focus. They even rewrote parts of her CA-1, the initial injury claim form, to be clearer.
Okay, and Kevin?
Kevin's appeal included that strong new expert medical opinion linking the back strain to the server lift, all that FCE data showing his limitations, and a really well-reasoned argument explaining the causal connection.
Making the argument explicit again.
Always. And for Jim, her team specifically structured their reconsideration request to meet those FICA causation standards head-on. They directly reference the probative value, basically, the persuasive weight or proof value of the objective findings, citing OWCP's own guidance.
Using OWCP's own rules, essentially.
Exactly. They submitted all the new evidence, the detailed history, the medical literature, the objective tests, and a crystal clear nexus statement formally connecting her specific work duties to her worsened knee condition.
It sounds incredibly thorough, almost like preparing for a court case.
In many ways, the level of detail required is quite similar. You have to anticipate objections and provide overwhelming evidence.
So the big question then, after all this effort, this meticulous work, what happened? Did it actually work for Maria, Kevin, and Jim? What were the outcomes?
Yes, it absolutely did. For Maria, OWCP accepted her claim. They reversed the denial. After she reached MMI maximum medical improvement, the point where her condition stabilized, she was evaluated and received a 6% permanent impairment rating for her left upper extremity. And based on that, she got a schedule award.
Okay, explain that a bit more. Impairment rating, schedule award. What does that mean practically for her?
Sure. The impairment rating is a doctor's assessment, using those AMA guides, of how much permanent functional loss she has in her arm due to the injury. It's a percentage. The schedule award is then a fixed sum of money, paid out over a set number of weeks according to a schedule in the law, specifically compensating for that permanent loss of function.
So it's financial recognition of the lasting impact.
Exactly. And Maria, she mentioned later how much she regretted waiting to report the injury initially, but that going through this process with the right support helped her not only get the physical function back and the financial compensation, but also restored her sense of, well, justice.
That sense of justice is huge, I imagine. What about Kevin, the IT specialist with the back injury?
Similar success story. OWCP reversed his denial too. After he reached MMI, Kevin received a 10% whole person impairment rating.
Whole person. So not just a limb.
Right. Back injuries are often rated as impacting the whole person. He also received a schedule award based on that rating, plus wage loss compensation for time he couldn't work at full capacity.
That sounds like a significant turnaround.
It was. Kevin described being near, physical collapse before. The pain was affecting his sleep, his work, his mental health. He felt totally dismissed by the claims staff initially. He said finding the right support just changed everything, helped him get back his productivity, his pride, and obviously the financial awards were meaningful.
Yeah, that validation must be incredibly important too. And Jim, the TSO with the knee.
OWCP reversed her decision as well. They accepted her claim, specifically acknowledging it as an aggravation of her pre-existing knee osteoarthritis caused by her occupational exposure at TSA.
So they accepted that nuance about aggravation.
Yes, which is critical. She received a 12% lower extremity impairment rating and the corresponding schedule award. And importantly, she was also approved for ergonomic accommodations at work to help manage her condition, plus partial wage loss benefits during her rehab.
That seems like a really comprehensive resolution.
It was. Jim talked about the daily anxiety she used to feel about her job security, the pain of just not being able to keep up sometimes, the stress of feeling doubted. She credited the support team for helping her feel finally seen and heard. Getting that evidence together regained her financial stability and really her self-worth after struggling for years.
These stories,
Mm-hmm.
they're incredibly powerful. What they really illustrate is that getting that denial letter, it doesn't have to be the absolute end of the road.
Not at all. It's often just the beginning of a different phase of the process.
Right. With that thorough evidence gathering, the expert medical reports we talked about, and really strategically navigating the appeals process, it is absolutely possible to turn things around.
It truly is. And for you listening or anyone you know working in federal service, just understanding these common pitfalls, the delayed reporting, the vague medical notes, the pre-existing condition issues, and knowing the strategies to overcome them, that's invaluable.
It really is about being prepared, knowing what OWCP is looking for, and realizing that, yeah, expert guidance can make a world of difference when you're up against these complex, sometimes bewildering administrative hurdles.
It really can level the playing field.
And that seems to be the real shortcut we've uncovered today, doesn't it? The path isn't some hidden secret. It's a methodical process. It's built on acting fast, getting irrefutable medical evidence, and telling a compelling, detailed story.
Yeah, remember your story, your experience, it has power,
Mhm.
especially when it's told with precision and backed by solid proof.
It makes you think, though. Maybe the most profound healing that comes out of this isn't just the physical recovery or even the financial compensation.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe it's that restoration of dignity, that feeling of finally being believed after you've felt dismissed or doubted for so long.
That's a really insightful point. That validation is incredibly powerful. It means the system, even if it initially failed, can ultimately see you and support you when presented with the right information.
Which raises a pretty important question, doesn't it? How many other federal employees out there might be silently enduring pain or job loss, completely unaware that this kind of perseverance, this meticulous documentation, could lead to such impactful reversals?
It suggests, doesn't it, that the true strength of a claim might not just be in the severity of the injury itself, but in the power of its thoroughly told story, how well you can gather the evidence and present the facts, meticulously put together.
A story that demands to be heard and finally is something to definitely think about.